What's up, world? My name's TJ. My dad Randy and I are here to talk about movies. So my family and I, we love nothing more than Friday nights, making homemade pizza and watching movies. So we had this idea to create a new rating system for films based on pizza. So an average pizza has 8 slices. So we're going to judge these movies on a scale of 8. And we're going to create some amazing pizza too. So we're going to break these movies down, we're going to rate them, and we're going to compare them to other movies from the past that might have similar themes or maybe inspired these films that you might enjoy. So we hope you listen, we hope you stick around, and we hope you make some pizza yourself and enjoy the film.
Welcome to episode 2 of Real Slices, where we're talking about the 2023 kind of action comedy, Hitman, starring Glenn Powell. It's kind of a action, romantic comedy, crime thriller, matches up with a pizza, something savory, bold, a little spicy. And with me is TJ.
What's up, y'all?
All right. The theme of the movie, is who we are fixed, or do we get to choose? The question sits at the heart of Hitman, Richard Linklater's genre-bending ride through identity, deception, transformation. I've always been fascinated by free will, whether we're truly the authors of our lives or just actors following a script written by a biology, society, or fate, or whatever.
Yeah, you showed me this movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm also super intrigued with these concepts like free will, identity, and growth and transformation in a person.
Yeah, I got to say, I love the book War and Peace, but what I love best is Epilogue B, where Tolstoy goes all in on it's all about free will and him suggesting that none of that was free will. And so I love this. I love the whole thing. Anyway, Hitman takes that philosophical idea and wraps it in noir, comedy, romance, all of these things, and they pull it off. Glenn Powell plays Gary Johnson, mild-mannered professor who moonlights as a fake contract killer for the New Orleans police. But the deeper he dives into his undercover persona, the more he seems to come alive. So, is he losing himself, or is he finally finding who he really is? And TJ, this one hit home for me in the same way your story Shot Caller does. You've been wrestling with free will in a much darker frame than this movie. Yeah. Yours would probably not even be rated. In this, Gary starts off as a cog in the system. Then something shifts. Now he starts making the choices. So what do you think? Is he finally acting with free will?
I totally love that you brought up my story. In the story I'm writing, Shot Caller, it really gets into this whole concept of how people are trained into being obedient, like a dog with a shock collar or electric fence, But with this character in the movie, Gary's character, it's like he jumps over that fence and he's given this scripted role, like go in, play the hitman, trap the bad guy. But then he starts rewriting that script and just completely reinvents himself. And that's the big move. And it's dangerous, but it's real.
And I agree with you. It felt real, right? So maybe the real question is not whether we have free will, but whether we're brave enough to use it when the opportunity shows up, right? And Gary, maybe you're doing this in your story. Here it is. I'm at the fork in the road. As Yogi Berra said, do I take it or do I just continue on my life?
Yeah, what's brilliant is that Hitman keeps it really light and funny, but then also like dealing with these really big, concepts like free will, like it's almost a more innocent, like Clockwork Orange,
Right. One of my favorite books, especially if you read the non-American version. So, Hitman, let's talk about the plot. Let's break it down. All right. Gary Johnson, again, philosophy professor with a talent for blending in, starts posing as a fake hitman for the police. But when he meets a woman in distress and gets emotionally involved, his web of lies, multiple personas, all start to unravel. It's part crime thriller, part romantic comedy, and part philosophical deep dive about identity, morality, and role-playing. And the plot keeps you guessing, and never loses its sense of fun. It takes you all the way to the end. All right. So let's take a look at the trailer.
No, 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 I don't buy it.
What?
You're not a hitman. You can't be. I tried looking you up, nothing. It's like you don't even exist.
I guess I'm just your fantasy.
So what's the biggest difference between the real you and your occupation?
By the way, my name is Gary Johnson, and I'm a fake hitman. I realize not everyone fantasized about the same hitman. Every sting operation was a performance. This is serious. I am in business. And each arrest was like a standing ovation.
Okay, Daniel Day.
I had it down to a science.
Sounds lovely.
Until things got, well, Ron, complicated.
Medicine.
Wow, just watching that, I'm reminded how funny that movie is. I mean, these characters he portrays, really good stuff.
You kind of get the picture in the trailer of
Yeah.
the whole thing that's going on. So we saw that, and characters. All right, Glenn Powell absolutely owns this movie, right? I think it's a great opportunity for a actor to play different personas. He starts off shy and understated, as we saw right at the beginning of the trailer. Then suddenly we see him as a suave guy with Madison, the love interest. And he gets some swagger and danger. And we contrast it with his old romantic life and his ex-wife, and he suddenly is also, passionate. It's a full transformation, and you believe it. And as Madison, Adria Arjona is equally strong. I mean, we saw that right there, right? They've got chemistry, but she starts off seeming like the femme fatale, but then quickly becomes something more. Mm-hmm. Reminds me a lot of Audrey Hepburn and Charade, right? Both these characters are kind of meek, but then they grow in their powers as they throughout the movie. So they've got great character arcs as they go, and the chemistry between them is just sizzling.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought Glenn Powell completely killed this. Very dynamic character and very funny, very cool. So, I mean, just to play a character who is acting as other characters, that takes a lot of talent and finesse to accomplish. The villain character, played by Austin Emilio as his character Jasper, was an awesome antagonist. His character was like this slimy sewer rat of a person. He's sketchy, he's greasy, and he just more and more becomes consumed with jealousy and greed, which brings him into conflict with the main character. Really great characters. Even the background characters were very funny and
yeah, agreed. There was no throwaway characters, I think, in this entire movie. Everybody had a purpose, moved the story along. We had Sanjay Rao as Phil, is a great contrast from Gary's arc, because they're both the same guy. They're technical people, work in the electronics for the recordings, and he's awkward, he's funny, and he stays as that character because he doesn't want to go undercover, and then Gary turns off. So we get to see both in the same, and then the contrast between the two really shines. And Retta, we saw a little bit of that in the trailer. Doesn't waste a single word. I love her. She's like, it's a look, a pause, it's a short line, right? It just nails it. There's no blah, 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 blah. So she is awesome. Mark of a truly intentional performance. All right. Screenplay and dialogue kind of lets you note every character speaks with a wink. The dialogue sparkles, especially when Gary's shifting identities. And we saw that in the trailer, right? Each persona kind of has a little different dialogue. And then his banter with Arjona, it was amazing. I love it. Again, it reminds me of all the old movies that I love, like Charade. It's got comedy rhythm and it feels old school, but fresh, right?
Yeah.
So
I
it's
agree.
nice. Yeah. All right. Execution. Linklater brings his trademark ease to the film. I mean, it unfolds without forcing it. The timing feels right. Camera observes more than it intrudes. It just feels, nothing feels artificial about this. The light, the color, the space, the backdrop of New Orleans. I think it is great. Screenplay is tight. It's like you talked about earlier. It goes and it moves along, and it's thematically rich.
The pacing was really good. It kept it going. He laughs. Really great chemistry from the different actors. I never got bored watching it. It went along really well.
Yeah, right. And like, and even on things like, Gary's teaching. And so we're seeing he's in his class, he's discussing these themes of free will and things like that. But it doesn't feel as filler, right? It is moving
No.
along and enriching
Well,
that story.
I thought it was really interesting, the scenes where he's being his professor teaching philosophy, and it's really giving foreshadowing for what's to come. And what he's going through in his whole other life is leaking into his world as a professor, and he becomes cool. All of a sudden, his students love him. He's like, when did our teacher get hot?
Right. And again, I love it. Credit to Glenn Powell. I think he pulls it off. It just feels real, like it would really happen. It's kind of trite.
Yeah.
The ugly duckling stories we see, it's usually a female. We have a gorgeous woman. And we're supposed to believe that she goes from ugly duckling to this gorgeous person. This is a male version, but I think he pulls it off.
Yeah.
I think they pull it off.
I mean, because he does such a good job at playing this like weird geek, and then really you get to see him just unwind and unfold and transform, and this character he creates, he finds a part of himself that's been hidden for probably his whole life.
Yes. I mean, there's a conversation with his ex-wife. He's like, I'm not incapable of passion. So clearly this is something that has been suppressed in his life up to this point. I think we talked a little bit about it. Music and sound design. Loved it.
Yeah. I thought the music was great. Really gave that real New Orleans feeling. And I thought it brought the movie to life. And also that helps with pacing in a film. When you have good music, it keeps you engaged.
Right. It was a character in of itself as it set the tone. And I love the fact that it's New Orleans. So we got to have some jazzy music and stuff. And I love that we did not have the jazz band going on the, funeral parade downtown. Yeah. It was just spot on.
Yeah. I mean, I think they did a good job not forcing this tourist version of New Orleans.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And we saw that, right? And we saw that a little bit in the trailer, right? This corner neighborhood bar that they're in. They're not on Bourbon Street or something like that. So I love it. All right. Final thoughts. What would you rate it?
I'd give it full 8 slices. I fully enjoyed it. I thought it was well written, good performances, and I can't really find any flaws with it. So yeah, I'd give it a full pie.
Full pie. All right. And I have to go full pie too. And I do this a date night movie. Maybe it's one of my white pizzas with a little bit of spice. Gotta have some spice in it though as well. It's stylish, romantic, and really smarter than it needs to be, right? It doesn't dumb anything down. I had a blast. True confessions. I wanted to pull back a couple slices and go, Madison's character, we don't get a backstory with her. But then that was the whole point.
Yeah, it kept it vague, so it kept you guessing, is she who she says she is? What's her deal? So, I enjoyed that. I mean, I think it was intentional. But I definitely see what you mean.
Right. Well, in movies there's a secret to us. There's a secret to my main character. There's a secret to both. In this case, there's a secret to both. And like you said earlier, what it did was it kept that tension going, the tension building all the way to the end. Like, who the heck is she and what's going to happen? I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So,
also, on the note of pizza, I feel like when we watched it together, we made some sort of really amazing margarita pizza or something, right?
We did.
That's what I would suggest. I think
you go, Margaret. Yeah, I mean that's my classic, and I judge all pizzerias. The first pizza I ever get is going to be a margarita. I think it's a great choice for a date night. We had some nice fresh basil, beautiful. All right, now the classic companion. All right, if you like Hitman, go back and watch Charade, 1963 classic with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. These two films are spiritual cousins. They blend thriller, romance, and comedy. Both feature characters with secret identities, shifting motives. Let's take a look at that trailer. There we go. Same thing.
Yeah. Wow, I love the cinematography here. It's so classic.
each other?
Why do you think we're going to?
I don't know. How do I know?
Because I already know an awful lot of people, and until one of them dies, I couldn't possibly meet anyone else.
Well, if anyone goes on the critical list, let me know.
As you can see, she was in serious trouble. But she still found time to enjoy herself.
Mrs. Lambert, any morning now you could wake up dead.
Of course, she never had as much fun as her husband. Now, he knew how to relax. You see, it all began when he got off the train. Now, there's a relaxed husband.
I love it. All right. So the plot of Charade. The movie opens with Audrey Hepburn as Regina Lambert on a ski weekend in the Alps, and we see that where she meets Cary Grant. Now she gets back to Paris, and she finds out that her husband is dead, thrown from a train. Saw that in the trailer. And her apartment's empty. He had sold everything, and so she has nothing. She finds out she doesn't really know who he is, and in comes Walter Matthau, a shady guy, supposedly helping her against some villains, that include James Coburn and George Kennedy, right? Excellent, always excellent. And then enter Cary Grant again in Paris as Peter Joshua. Or is he Alexander Dial? Or is he Adam Canfield? His name keeps changing, so does his backstory, so do his motives. Is he a friend? Is he a con man? Can she trust him? That's part of the fun, right? Regina doesn't know if she can trust him, but man, they've got chemistry, right? And they've got that really great dialogue. So the whole movie plays out as a romantic thriller, screwball comedy sprinkled in, right? Kind of like Hitman, right? Secret identities, rooftop chases, sharp dialogue, unmistakable 60s style. It's Hitchcock-light. Love the Hitchcock-light movies. Dangerous, but elegant, So even if you've seen Charade before, check it out again because it holds up. And if you haven't seen it and like Hitman, definitely check out Charade because you're going to love it. These movies are twins.
I've been meaning to watch it. Dude, been telling me about it. I love I totally can see already what you're saying. I mean, this blending of like serious stuff and comedy, I think it's really entertaining.
Right, where you see right in the opening of the trailer, it's a similar theme in the movie, right? In Hitman, Madison doesn't know who Ron really is, right? And Gary doesn't know what Madison's hiding either, even if his coworker's in the dark. Glenn Powell totally channels Cary Grant's easy charm, right? I mean, I think he could be this generation's Cary Grant. He just has that feel. Adria Arjona? Oh, yeah. She could be Hepburn's heir. We see that same great chemistry, that they had, that they do. And as you talked about earlier, Jasper, Austin Emilio, right? Great villain. In Charade, there were three villains. Like we had Walter Matthau, the sneaky guy you couldn't figure out. George Kennedy, always brilliant as this big brute. And it's funny because Austin Emilio isn't a big guy, but I found him just as menacing, right?
Yeah, like I said before, he's got this really sketchy like vibe. And his performance was really good because he seemed like his character was a really good liar. It made me think that there's a lot more to this character going on. He must be into some sketchy business, if I could just sum it up.
Right, you have to think that.
He's dirty.
Right. And music again, we see kind of orchestral, jazzy music in the old thing, sets a tone there. And the banter, the double entendres, the flirtation, both have that nailed. And again, I love those old-timey movies, so I love it.
Definitely.
All right. So Charade might be 60 years old, but it feels fresh. And now it's even clearer how the films like Hitman carry on with that legacy. All right. So thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Real Slices with Hitman. Check us out next time. Subscribe. Drop some comments. Let us know what you think.
And go make some pizza and go watch Hitman.